I just got back from Salem with our coven, Mystic Oak Coven. We're based in Atascadero, California, clear across the country from Massachusetts. We went to Salem for Samhain. It's 2025, and we just had an incredible trip together. I have this video that is going to go over the top witchy sites to visit if you're a witch and want to connect with lineage in Salem and honor those who perished in the witch trials. Or perhaps you're somebody that's just curious about the history in Salem. This video is going to give you the top places to visit and what you can expect if you're visiting around the time of year of Halloween, late October, Samhain. First things first, we arrived in Danvers. Danvers is the original Salem village. Salem town is out on the water, and that's proper modern day Salem. And in the late 1600s, Salem village, a little bit inland, now called Danvers. This was the epicenter of the witch trials. It's where things started. In Danvers is the Witch Trials Memorial, and this was the first memorial that we visited. It felt extremely sad and profound to arrive at the Witch Trials Memorial. There are some quotes on the stone walls. There is a podium with an open book and chains on the podium. And it's very sad to think of the people that perished during the witch trials. As far as interacting with the memorial, touching the stone, saying a prayer, leaving a organic, biodegradable offering at the site. These are all ways to interact at the memorial. Looking back, this was our first memorial that we visited. Our coven hadn't arrived yet. Myself and my co-host wanted to take some rounds early and scope out the sites. We'd never been to Salem, and this was the first site we went to. In Danvers is also Rebecca Nurse's homestead. Rebecca Nurse is a story that always breaks my heart. She was an elder. She was a midwife. I'm a midwife too. She served her community and there's the oven. Sorry about that. She had been in the community for a long time. Thanks. Had inherited a large parcel of land, and the homestead is open during the warmer months. So it was closed when we went to visit, but from the outside, it looked absolutely gorgeous and is one of the top recommended sites to visit. And read up on Rebecca's story. She's a real inspiration that maintained her innocence until her execution and spoke for truth and justice and compassion. Unfortunately, the community had not rallied together at that point to put an end to the witch trials, and she perished as a result. Outside of Danvers, then, I wanted to talk about the Witch House. Built in 1642, this is the single only surviving building in Salem that has a direct connection to the witch trials. This house was owned by a judge at the time. It has two stories, I believe, and was considered a mansion at the time. The house was actually moved from its original site just 30 feet back on the lot when the roads were becoming widened through a municipal project. The people of Salem got together in historical preservation efforts to save this house, moved it, and then gave it back to the city. It's now a self-led touring museum, but you have to get tickets that are by lottery the night before or the morning of. So this was myself and my co-host. When our full coven was together, we were an order of seven, and that would have been kind of hard to get tickets for all of us, and like rely on that we would be able to have done that. So we just went ahead, the two of us. And it's like a living museum, right? The hearth is full of pots and pans. The table is set. The beds have linens. It's like it really gives you that immersive feeling of what it was like to be in a house back in that time. Really moving, beautiful, disturbing, and yeah, my co-host picked up on some funny feelings she was having in the house. She's pretty sensitive psychically. Um, we both are in different ways, but she was picking. I was more like academically interested, and she was picking up on some weird vibes in there. We really enjoyed our time and highly recommend visiting the Witch House. Not to be confused with the Witch's Museum, which is a totally different vibe. And if I can't totally recommend the Witch's Museum, but I don't want to discourage anybody from going. If you have time to go to the Witches Museum and you'd like to check it out, it's not a historical building, it's a theater with an excellent bookshop and gift shop attached. The museum has a really interesting exhibit of the evolution of the witch archetype in pop culture, overlaid with a timeline of evolution of world religions and overlaid with a timeline of the witch trials. It's an interesting museum, but it doesn't really have that historical artifact feeling, nothing compared to the witch house. The next stop in Salem that I would really recommend is the Witch Trials Memorial, and this is downtown Salem. Now, we visited on Halloween. It was super chaotic and crazy and busy. There is a wax museum nearby. There was somebody on a loudspeaker selling tickets to the wax museum. There were food trucks nearby. There were walking tours. There was a large number of people moving through the memorial itself. It's like a square garden with stone walls on the perimeter, and there's like it was kind of a quick pace driven by the crowd. Um, and the memorial itself, I hadn't really dropped into a deep feeling state when I was on the first two walls, but on the last third wall, I realized like this is the last wall, and I slowed down to really tap in and feel the gravity of being at this memorial. And that's right when I saw Rebecca Nurse's stone, and I took a knee and cried for Rebecca Nurse. Again, her story breaks my heart. And just a couple stones down was Bridget Bailey, and her story also feels really close to my heart. She was an independent, outspoken, fiery woman who was the first to be executed. So, this I had fallen back a little bit, and the rest of the coven had made their way out of the memorial. And when I exited and I saw my coven members, the recognition on their face of the emotions I was experiencing was just an immediate connection, a deep sense of sisterhood and compassion. The coven came close right away, came right up close. And I just asked everybody, can we hold hands for a second, please? Because I wasn't ready to come out of that feeling state and all the chaos that was going around us. So we held hands and formed a circle. And immediately there was a shift in the energy in the center of our circle. It felt like we had stepped through a portal. The everything got slow inside the circle. It felt like honey on the inside, and all the chaos on the outside of the circle just turned into a blur. The sounds got muffled. Things sort of felt like they were falling away, and it felt like everything was far away. And we fell into song, this song that we had been singing throughout the retreat. And we sang 3 rounds of the song, and I couldn't hear anything else. We really were connecting with one another and singing the song. And I didn't notice at the time, but some of my sisters said people were walking around us and putting their hands out. I'm getting chills. to protect us, to hold that space, like hold a perimeter of space for us. It was really beautiful. And as far as interacting with the memorial, I couldn't have asked for a more meaningful moment. It was one of the highlight takeaways for many of us of the entire retreat. So when we came out of our circle, it was again chaotic. We made our way over to Salem Commons, which is like the big park. And there was a witches' circle, a ceremony that was happening on Samhain on the 31st, run by Christian Day, who also runs the Witches' Ball, which is like a big party with a DJ and multiple levels, and I think a costume contest. Um, the ceremony itself was beautiful, and it felt meaningful to be a part of it. There were barricades and police officers protecting us, and there were evangelical Christian groups harassing us with megaphones. And so that was just a really strange juxtaposition to be so focused on love and light and speaking to the moon and calling in our ancestors, celebrating Samhain, and then having this energy in the perimeter. And I guess that felt like say our trip to Salem during Halloween with people flocking in the streets in full costume and there to party. Um, there was a lot of that juxtaposition of this incredibly deep and profound purpose we had for traveling to Salem on Samhain to connect with our ancestors and honor the lineage, and these victims of the witch trials, these people that stood for truth and justice, uh, and at the same time, there's so many other people there for other reasons. Um, it was buzzy and alive and energetic. And I'm super glad we were staying in Ipswich, which was 20, 30 minutes outside of Salem, out by an apple orchard in a 300-year-old barn that was so gorgeous. We had ceremony every day, and our retreat content, somatic magic, the ceremonies that I run to connect with the body through somatic coaching and manifesting energetic flow so that we can create magic in the world. This is where our work really lies in our coven. But this video is about like sightseeing. So I'm going to get back to where we were, the witch memorial, the witches museum, the Salem Commons, and the witch ceremony. The next day, a couple days later, everybody left, and my co-host and I stayed back. We that day went to Proctor's Ledge on Gallows Hill, which is close to Salem. And this is the actual site where 19 individuals were hung and executed. This was incredibly disturbing, potent, intense. Myself, I felt a sense of happiness is a funny word, but I was just happy to see that these people's names were again in stone at another memorial. I just felt like comforted that there was remembrance woven throughout Salem and these surrounding areas. These stories are staying alive and people are remembering these names. My co-host again had a really uncomfortable sensation of the point of view of somebody that was being executed. And so she had found that disturbing. And we had different experiences. We unpacked it all, and definitely worth visiting again as far as interacting with the memorial, right? Encouraging you to feel in the body, right? Like get in there drop in, find a way to be quiet, and tune in to the history and why that history matters, right? Why we are remembering these people is because of the injustice of the witch trials, to let them know that their lives were not in vain, like their sacrifice was not in vain. We remember in order to recognize what's happening in the world. There's a lot around Salem about modern day witch trials. And when we look at what's happening in our society now, there's so many parallels. So uh, it's about looking to the past so that we don't repeat the future, keeping our eyes open and paying attention to what's around us. This tapping into the lineage was a huge activation for me. I have a much deeper sense of purpose in teaching about the witch trials now, and getting to immerse myself in that history really informs my teaching going forward. Um, so those were like the top sites that I wanted to go over. Um, in Danvers, the Witch Trials Memorial, Rebecca Nurse's Homestead, the Witch House in Salem, the Witch Trials Memorial in Salem, and Proctor's Ledge. In addition to those top sites, I would recommend getting to the House of Seven Gables. That's Nathaniel Hawthorne's house that he was born and grew up in. He is the author of The House of Seven Gables and The Scarlet Letter, and many other writings that he became well known for. It's an incredibly beautiful estate right on the water with gorgeous gardens, really well preserved buildings. We weren't able to go on the extended 45-minute tour. If you want to get on that tour, I'd recommend reserving your spot ahead of time. Not just arriving and hoping to get on. That's what happened to us. We had a plane to catch, so there's some self-led components of the tour still worth going to if you can't get into the guided tour. And the gift shop's cute too. Um, Other notable stops are the Hawthorne Hotel, which is registered with the Historic Hotels of America and is well known to be haunted. We had an experience there that was very spooky. Uh, Maybe I'll make another video about getting haunted in Salem. We stayed at the Daniels house that last night, and this is a beautifully preserved bed and breakfast with 3 or 4 stories. The house is incredible. The staff was so warm and welcoming. Breakfast was self-serve bagels and toast, so not like a proper bed and breakfast per se, but just incredibly preserved with a hearth downstairs, a kitchen that's all set up like it would have been in the olden days. This building was owned by Sea Captain Merchant, and must have been a very well-known mansion at the time, being that there's fireplaces in every room, and the house itself had so many rooms. And one other thing I wanted to mention was Crane Beach. If you make it to Ipswich, where we stayed, there's not a lot of historical sites in Ipswich that I'm aware of, but we stayed right next to an apple farm where you can go apple picking and go on hay rides. We had an apple tasting, so many heirloom apples to choose from, a great gift store there, the kind of place that you could go and get provisions to have a picnic, hot cider, cider donuts. And right down the road is Crane Beach, which is a wildlife preserve, wetlands, a 4 mile stretch of beach. And we are nature people, we're beachy people, and getting into the water was important to a couple of our coven members to touch the Atlantic and to connect with the land. Um, Say thank you for holding us there. So if you can't make it to Ipswich and you can make it out to Crane Beach, I highly recommend. Let me know in the comments below if there's anything you have questions about. I can't wait to go again next year. If you're interested in joining, you can visit my website, healwithallison.com. Mystic Oak Coven has its own page, and the Witches Retreat has its own page. I'm going to be updating it with pictures from our retreat and information on the developments of planning next year's retreat. Like I was saying, somatic magic is at the heart of that retreat. That is the witchcraft that we practice in our coven. And I am all about teaching others how to get in touch with their bodies and feel energetic flow, to conjure emotional states in the body and find ways to express emotion in the body, create pathways for energetic release to clear in order to build, right? So, calling in your future self. This is the magic of manifestation. And when we're doing magic in the world, right, clearing our own energy lines is first and foremost. So that's the work of somatic magic. I'll be making more videos just about somatic magic, but I'm so into sharing it. If you want to learn more, please reach out. You can email me, visit the website, follow Allison Lorne, CNM on Instagram if you're interested in getting more of my content. And I swear I'm going to be better about posting videos on YouTube. Blessed be.